Thanks, guys, for coming out today. So we're holding a press conference today to benefit JCPS Frisky Resource Centers, the Youth Service Center coordinators, I should say. They've done some great work in our communities and in our JCPS school system. From JCPS statistics this year, I think there's 3 million interventions they've had, with half of that being clothing that children need. So what their interventions are, from clothing to food, and any resource to keep the child engaged in school. The work of all of our Friskies in our JCPS system is just, it's priceless, is what I can say. From helping kids stay engaged, to be at school, or just loving down on them. From food to clothing. It's very important. It helps keep attendance up in our schools, and we want to just nourish the bright minds of our community. Today, my predecessor, David Yates, in District 25, started the Chase Gavin Coat a Kid drive. And with that, I'm picking up where he left off, and we're collecting coats throughout the rest of the week at Stomping Grounds Coffee, Shirley's Way at 10966 Dixie Highway, and all of the Derby City Pizza locations will collect new coats this week until Friday. Please bring them in. We would love to just get up to 700 coats. These are much needed to keep our kids warm, especially on the cold, frigid mornings like today. I'm going to bring up Ashley Derringer with I'd Rather Be Reading, who can kind of enlighten us on how the Friskies do such great work in our school system.
Hi, thank you all for having us here today, and thank you, Councilman Betchon, for having and doing this coat drive. This is such an important time in the community. The holiday season should bring joy and be a happy time to celebrate, and for many families, it can often be a stressor, because especially right now, how are we going to pay the bill for groceries? How are we going to have coats for our children? How are we going to make sure that we are able to work long enough and get them to and from school in time? And that is where our partnership with the councilman and JCPS and our Friskies really does come in. At I Would Rather Be Reading, we have 9 after-school programs across the city, several right in the South End, which is where the heart of this coat drive is taking place. We work alongside our Friskies and council members to make sure that all families have exactly what they need. As he mentioned, there are tons of interventions going on right now, whether it's academic or just providing families with basic needs. And this is the time of year where it really is just beautiful to see every single person in our community stepping up and saying, what can we do to make this a joyous season? So having this opportunity for children to go home with coats and relieving that barrier for families is a huge deal. And I urge everyone to make a donation if you can. It's really accessible. I know the Friskies that we work with closely every single day. They are at their schools. They're making sure kids are getting what they need. They're showing up to school on time and asking and reaching out to those families, what can we do to help? At I Would Rather Be Reading, we step in by providing and eliminating that barrier of after-school childcare and cost. But I know that the Friskies are the main people that are talking to our families and telling them, here's what the community has to offer. How can we lift up this season for you and really make it joyous? So for us, we're showing up. We're going to have the after-school program where kids can come wearing their coats, whether they're getting off the bus or walking to our community centers. I know this is very, very important. And I know that every single Frisky has a hard time. Our schools are big. You know, some of our schools have 300 to 500 kids. And without a doubt, there are multiple children who will need this resource, and families that will be very thankful for the opportunity to receive a coat for their children. So with that, I will pass it over to Senator Yates. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank each one of you for being here again. I was late as I was walking in, and Mr. Haig was out there. There's a child outside without a coat on. She was she had house shoes on, and she was shivering outside. I was hustling up here, and I couldn't help but turn around and say, what do I do? Right now, she's in the hallway warming up. I'm hoping we can get a coat that'll fit her right now. It's all the time. It is all the time. Started this many years ago with my 2 daughters, Ava and Grace. It was a school project. and they were supposed to be able to find a way to be able to give back. And we decided coating other kids would be a way to do so. It was just a few coats at that time, and Ava looked up to me and she said, "Dad, is it enough?" And those words have always stuck in my mind, because no, it's never enough. But we all have to do what we can. If each of us do what we can, we will make a difference. Every year since 2016 now, it's been official, and we've done that. When I left the Metro Council and went to the Senate, I was really worried that this would fall behind. And thanks to my colleagues here today, my friends, Councilman Vachon, who's there, and the Friskies and the other members, it has not. The difference between now and when we first started is that we also get to honor Chase Gavin. A lot of you may remember Chase as a hardworking, big-hearted young man in my office. Chase made sure this was successful several years in my office. He was out there talking to the kids, talking to the teachers, talking to the counselors and officers to make sure we bridged that gap, because he was a child that had gone without, and he wanted to pay that forward. And so now that Chase is no longer with us, we get to honor him every single year by making this the Chase Gavin Coat a Kid. And for every child that receives a new coat, these are new coats not just to keep you warm, but because we give them something that's their own. For some of these children, they have never seen love and affection, empathy, and we expect them to otherwise be able to give that back. We give them something they can be proud of, something of their very own. That's what Coat a Kid is about. It's not only keeping a child warm, but be able to give that love and that relationship. Now, the Friskies work day in, day out to make sure that these kids get what they need. But I'll tell you, it takes a village. It takes all of us to step in. We look at public safety issues. We look at economic issues. We look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, it starts here. It starts how we treat this next generation to make sure they don't fall through the gaps, not only from education, but from wraparound services and just basic love and empathy. You give a child a coat, a child that is otherwise cold or has nothing at all. You give them the gift of giving. You give them the gift of having received just a little bit of love, and it builds that relationship. And so that's what I think is what we do here today is so important. Please don't let us fall short. At home, if you're watching this, you have a chance to give, because I'm telling you, every year we're short. There's always some children that go without. Let's fill that gap. Thank you.
Thank you all again for coming out. Like Senator Yates said, we're always falling short. And like our colleagues up here in our Friskies said, they 3 million interventions this year, and it continues to grow. So let's do our part to make sure we take care of our future generation and our community. Thank you all for coming.